This is Otaku Station, broadcasting our analysis of Cowboy Bebop Episode 1. The multilingual announcement, right? Gets across that in this world, particularly, space is multilingual. And this is also important because this is something that a lot of anime kind of assume isn't something you have to worry about, right? That everyone in space just knows Japanese or English or whatever you kind of have chosen. But no, they are portraying a highly diverse society where you have to accommodate a lot of different kinds of people. Also, this is, I think, pretty clearly a nod to the sci-fi fans to say, okay, we know we have warp drive here. This is how it works.
Yeah.
So this is important.
Yep. Go ahead.
This is important because it's telling us everything has a cost.
Yeah.
And previously we have Jet talking to Spike going, you destroyed the store, you beat up this guy, and you beat up that guy, and we had to pay all these bills. That's why we have no money. That's why there's no beef.
Mm-hmm.
And then everything that they do has some type of cost to it.
Yep.
And you notice all the receipts around this screen marked in red, some of them.
Mm-hmm. Yep, most of them.
Are these past due?
Probably.
Collection notices. Oh.
Yeah, definitely has that feel. Absolutely. And then even further, the imagery of the fact that these are not filed away in a drawer, right? They're just tacked up wherever so we can remember to do something about them. Yeah.
Well, and to your point, Brent, about the text coming across, sort of international aspect to it, not only are the bounty notice information bits 6 foot height, 100 and some odd pounds.
No, true, yeah. Not meters.
Coal access point. There's nothing. The rate was paid it's like you look at this. There's nothing Japanese in there.
Yeah.
But for the things written on the receipts.
True.
So it's like it gives it that kind of otherworldly, so that if you're in a non-English speaking audience, you're looking at this like, oh wow, this is it's somewhat indecipherable to me. It's very kind of futuristic and this sort of aspect.
John, to your point, I never noticed this before, but if you look at the screen, the gateway screen, to the right of the 7500, you see mode select, and what do you see beneath it?
Chinese and English. Yeah, that's a good point. Interesting. So they're getting across that this is a multilingual society, if you will. They're also making a point here that they are engaging their engines now, implying that in the warp you don't need your engines on, but now you're actually having to go under impulse drive in Star Trek terms.
How beautiful the space scenery is.
It is gorgeous. We should also point out how mundane this is, right? Yeah. They just used faster than light technology, and they treated it like a toll booth on a road. So this is normal.
Right.
I also appreciate the little hint here that he's walking down and we see the rotation of the ship on one side, which tells us that's how they're generating gravity. So very 2001. So let's call out the kind of anachronism here. Not only is this a spaceship, it's pretty much unlike most any other spaceship you've seen before, with all the different lines and curves and so forth. But then you have this very much like mid 20th century car headlight.
Yeah,
so
like an incandescent 1950s car.
So giving us something to kind of grab onto. So it's not going to be all futuristic sci-fi blaster weapon things.
And a note also about the lived-in look of the overall ship. This thing is beat.
That's true. It
is not some kind of crazy, shiny, new, futuristic. No, it's like a beat-up old hunk.
Yep, 100%. And further, seeing the bent over like chicken wire next to it, the wire, sort of twirling off of it. Further getting across, this feels a little bit low rent.
Yeah.
The last shot that we saw was definitely, we have video of taking off from an aircraft carrier. So we're going to mimic that.
Yeah.
Doing that kind of a thing. Number one. Number two, we get now the notion that this is not something that you travel around from planet to planet in, right? So this is in a hangar on another ship. It's an additional. It's it's adjunct. We see that it's got this interesting like Chevy 57 headlight on it, kind of thing. And now that it unfolds, it's kind of got like almost like a muscle car to it. Look to it.
Yeah.
And so what we're getting from this is that this is not something that is meant to be like a Lincoln Town car driving down, or like a tank or anything like that. This is meant to be fast, small, fast, and do the trick. And I think it's interesting that we had that long gun underneath it.
Yeah.
With no explanation to it.
Nope. Also the fact that we're not going to a planet. We're going to a station on an asteroid. So, okay, we're definitely making use of space. But we get there, and we do not see astronauts in jumpsuits, or electrified rail cars or whatever. No, we see basically, any city in East Asia.
Yeah.
It's COWBOY.
Yeah. But to your point, how many different languages do we see here?
Yep.
I think the one in the far back's Thai.
Yeah. Looks like it. Obviously English. Looks like possibly. Yeah. What's the red and white below it? I can't quite tell.
In Winnie Pull.
Something like that. Yeah.
Character where it says collect on, that character past the T, I think, is Cyrillic.
Okay. Yeah.
It's hard to tell.
Interesting.
Multinational. On the yellow, black, and red, that's Korean.
Yeah.
So, a lot going on.
Arabic, the one that's right next to it, has a camel? I think it is.
True. Yeah. Probably.
Arabic.
Yeah. And just the fact that you have, street kids stealing bread. That tells you something about the world.
How many have either of you seen Desperado?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
No.
Yep.
No? Okay. This is that bar.
Mm-hmm.
So if you watch Desperado with Antonio Banderas, that is it. That is literally it.
Cool.
Even with the ceiling fan. Yes.
And the jukebox at the end,
cool.
or not so much?
I think so.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Dang, okay.
You're pushing even further into this is not a slick sci-fi future. There is no technology here. The only technology is the ceiling fan and a frickin' jukebox.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and you get a sense of rundown.
Yeah.
You got a raggedy cat in the foreground, and you got these old timers just,
In my day.
Bored bartender.
Yep. On the one hand, this is a very classic crime movie kind of a scene. On the other hand, this is not a white powder. It's this weird red and purple thing in a glass vial. So kind of amping up the sci-fi-ness. It's also interesting here how much they thicken up the lines of his hand. Like these very thick, almost like Sharpie marker lines in the hand. And I think that is just to add drama to the image of the moment. I think if they were regular lines, it just would kind of fade into the background a little bit. But we need to draw the viewer's attention to that vial. So this is a hint, right? She's pregnant, but she ordered a vodka, Bloody Mary, and she's sipping his beer. So that is certainly a thing that people do when pregnant. A little bit of alcohol here and there. So that could just be a character flaw, if you will. But it is an interesting thing that they're highlighting. But notice how we are now having this fairly rapid intercutting between the goons on the street and what's going on inside. Classic film technique to increase the tension as we cut back and forth between these two folks. Yeah. Now, something we've done earlier. We saw the flashes in the memory, but everything else up to this point has been a pretty traditional kind of storytelling. But making real use of, again, very much a Desperado, El Mariachi style, approach.
Well, it also, in addition, it continues to cement the idea of this is not a law-abiding, clean kind of environment.
True.
Because you have all these people pop out of this car, and they're all wielding firearms.
Yeah.
I It's like, okay, people sleeping on the street drunk, the old guys complaining in the bar. This is a Wild West. It's very much a Wild West environment. Guns are coming out and not a soul around bothering with it.
Yep.
Well, here's the other interesting thing about this world is that we have faster than light technology getting us from planet to planet to whatever, right? But there are things that people are focusing on and not focusing on. There are no ray guns.
True.
These are you know what, they made it a point. See the guy pull the slide back, and we hear the noise and all that. In Gundam, we would have, or similar shows, we would have just seen the blaster come out and don't move or I'll shoot, kind of a thing. But these people, again, with the technology, everything's run down. As John was saying, this is not a family-friendly environment.
Definitely.
Well, I wonder, too, for this, when you have a technology that is far advanced, the resources to do the thing in any good sci-fi kind of thing, I need an energy cell to drive the blaster rifle. This stuff is like those headlights on Swordfish 2. This stuff is cheap, mechanical, requires very little high-tech kind of stuff. You don't have to recharge a handgun. So these are, I would argue, kind of in this world building with faster than light technology, this is the most efficient use of technology to achieve a certain end without getting wacky with all the kind of crazy blaster stuff.
Right. We don't have to go into the tech of it and all that. And in real world history, there's been a notice that NASA spent $1 million on making a pen that works in space, and the Russians, the Soviets, just said, "Take a pencil."
Actually, not true. But
not true.
A fun story.
And anachronistic.
But
they were dropping carbon rods. It's not pencil.
Okay.
But no, we've had guns for hundreds of years, and we still use them today, right? Like that, it's still an effective use of technology.
Once you developed a cartridged firearm, it's really simple to function with. Even if you're poor, you can still fix parts by hand. You can do all kinds of stuff. You want to drop a blaster rifle at a gunsmith in the early 20th century, and they're going to be like, "What the living heck is this thing?" Look.
Let's call out how they're doing this animation-wise. Initially, it's a lot of animation. But then as we go into it, for example, this shot is a static shot of the old men with glass flying across past them, right? Which is very dynamic, especially because of how they've chosen to draw the guys. There's a lot visually going on there. You're trying to parse who's where, what are those shapes I'm seeing? And so throwing the glass in front of it makes it this dynamic image. We have the jukebox, and we basically throw explosions in front of it to break it up and bust it up. But we're being efficient with our action sequence here and how we're getting that across while still making it very visually interesting. We're also cutting very quickly to different things. Also, she already has her gun out. So clearly prepared. Further, we see how many people they sent here after 2 people, and how even that's not going well for them. So that tells us a lot about the power of this and how dangerous Asimov is.
Well, it's interesting with him doing the red eye thing. The hitman walks straight in.
Yeah.
And is firing in a room that is not big directly at him, which is, and again, it harkens to the fact that firearms are not easy to deal with. You don't get, even in short ranges, you don't get 100% accuracy. Surprised that I would think hitmen would, be trained up better. But it's like that interesting intersection between firearms will have an element of deviant sort of behavior of the bullet when you're firing it and you're trying to get a bead on somebody, but also a good element to this red eye stuff makes you fast. You know,
Mhm.
it
Well-
jacks you to the point where you have reaction time, where that little bit of inaccuracy means you can move just enough to duck and weave.
Yep.
Like,
So yeah, it kind of gives you that vision of like your mental processing is slowing time down, but your body's ramping up so
Yeah.
that when it's meshing, you know, to kind of to your point, John, you know, even the guy is like, okay, I'm confident, I'm coming,
Yeah.
and, you know, and then
Yeah.
and we get that reflection of Asimov just looking crazy in the sunglasses,
Yep.
and he just does the thing. And I love how they do it from his point of view after the drug, and you know, this back in the day in college when I drank a lot, you know, you kind of have that hazy, distorted view of kind of things, and I've always appreciated that scene.
Yeah.
well, a complete shout out too. The art style of this reminds me of Surratt.
Oh.
Okay,
You know what I mean?
Interesting
Because
call.
you're
Yeah.
looking at this image and it's dots. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like this
Right.
very fine, you know, not pixelation, but almost.
Very grainy.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like that's an interesting effect to try and how do you animate grainy?
Yeah.
Well, and-
Other than like, you know, banks of people losing their minds.
well, no, to that point, and one of the things we've already seen in this episode that we haven't called out is the inclusion of some digital elements, right? Some of those,
Right.
the gates and the ships and the special effects were
Yeah.
clearly digital, added on to, and this was a mostly ink and paint production, 1998. But I'm sure what they did here is, you know, they drew this with the red and white and then added digitally
A digital
a
filter.
grain onto it. Yeah, exactly. A
Yeah.
I was
grain
gonna say,
filter.
because it would be an amazing animation technique.
Oh, can you
Where it's just
imagine
like,
that intern?
Here's some colored pencils, and I want you to make 150 billion dots.
And, then
And
we're
they're
gonna
showing
move
off.
them just to the left.
Yeah.
This is what you can do when you can apply those filters to a show,
Yeah.
you know, and really achieve something interesting visually and artistically.
Oh yeah.
And there's our confirmation, right? Just so that it's one of the things I appreciate about Bebop is they'll introduce something that seems impossible, right? Or seems unexplainable. And then they'll say, no, this is what we're saying, is that this allows him to dodge bullets effectively.
And shout out to the animation. Look at the bullet.
Yeah.
The rifling on it.
It's
Yeah.
true. Man, amazing. So we cut to this moment, and regardless of its relevance to the story, we just had this very intense, very violent scene. Anime does not often get that violent, right? Where you see blood, you see the hit, you hear that squelching sound.
Yeah.
So cutting to this gives us a little bit of respite and a moment to catch our breath.
So Spike's in an opium den. Well,
Yeah, apparently. But I also love the playing around with expectations here, where we jump to this very mystic thing, and then he immediately undercuts the visuals we're seeing. Just want to call out, there are 4 piles here. Just like there are 4
Yes.
characters eventually on the Bebop. Human characters.
No foreshadowing at all on that.
No,
No.
certainly
None.
not.
whatsoever.
Whatsoever. But what I've always thought was interesting with this is that is not Shinto, that is not Buddhist,
True.
That is a Native American shaman,
Yeah, great point.
you know, and that's not something that, you know, cultures align with what they know.
Yeah,
So if normally we probably would have seen this as a Shinto monk, older Shinto monk in this environment doing something mystical or whatever.
yeah.
But here we have the shaman. So it's definitely taking a part of that whole idea of the world is in America, the world is in Japan, the world is in China. No, this is just like, and this guy's sitting in a teepee on an asteroid.
Yeah, surrounded by VHS tapes.
Right.
Yeah.
And circuit boards. Yeah, absolutely. Great point.
Well, the research element to this as
Yeah.
well is I can't remember the specific tribe, but there is Tunka is the rock.
Okay.
I think it's in Apache. I'm not entirely sure. And there's Tonkashila. So these are actual. When he's saying Wankan Tunka, these are actually some actual terms.
Cool.
Where it's like, oh, okay, I don't know what specific deity that refers to, but you know what I mean. It's like that's an interesting sort of dive on a 3-second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, I get where you're placing this. I get, what you're saying about the 4 piles. They're interconnected. All the sand from one hand has linked those 4 things. But it's just like, wow, why did Spike go there?
Yeah.
Why was this a critical moment to bring us out of the ultraviolence, to center us again?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, what an interesting element of Spike's character. We don't know anything about him yet.
True.
We know he can be a little hot-headed. We know that, that he's got things to go do, but we've learned a little bit of information. I've died before. A woman killed me before.
Yeah.
And he's obviously got a spiritual side to him to have even sought out the shaman.
Yeah.
So,
100%. And I love, to that point, the how they're keeping their cards close to their chest, in the sense where we have this very mystic moment, and Spike speaking about having died, killed by a woman, and so forth. And you're like, is that literally true? Is he making it up entirely? Is it symbolical? What's going on here? And they place that in a situation which allows any of those interpretations to seem likely. Where you're not immediately discounting any of those things. You're like, well, who knows?
Guide his spirit.
And then undercutting it again with this expression from Jet, which clearly is for what's happening in the thing, but also a little bit of like, that was a little weird, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, also, do you appreciate the perspective on Jet from slightly below, so his hands look like insane.
Yeah, true.
It's like, it's a really good camera angle to be like, why does that look like that? Oh, it's because you're slightly below looking up, so his hands are closer to you. Like, dang.
This is Jet's reaction to this. He's not shocked. He's not calling the police. He's like, oh, this happened. Fair enough. And going over.
Well, it's almost as if he's standing there going, this again. Okay.
Yeah, right.
Could be something over here that I can drink.
Yeah.
This is not new.
Exactly. Also, just the imagery of the cat licking up the remnants is also, I think, getting to the very scavenging aspect of what we've been seeing of the the thief kid. They're bounty hunters with no money. People are doing their best to survive and living off scraps.
And also, it harkens to the ultra violence, and now things are mundane.
Yeah, true.
The cat just survived itself this wild free for all. And did it flee the building? Is it run off somewhere? Oh, the horror of it all! No, the cat's just under the broken stuff, just licking stuff up. This is normal life on the asteroid. Like, yeesh.
To our earlier point, they have a pinball machine.
Yeah.
Okay. And this is how Jet reacts to that. Right? He's not still sitting in the chair. As soon as the door opened, he was behind the counter. I also just love the pose and facial expression here. Both hunching over so he can't be seen, but also just that intense listening.
As long as he's using...
He's wound up in case.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's like the spring is set, and he has to. He's going to come blowing out of that hiding spot in a hurry.
Yeah, 100%.
That red eye on himself, you can't beat him.
Actually, to your point, they put a broken bottle right there in the lower right, just to remind you of what you can do with a bottle if you need to. Yep, and there we go.
What do you do with a bottle?
Some more.
Now let's call out the drawing of this. Right, you have the thug's face more or less centered in the screen and a little brighter than Jet, so that draws your attention. But we've also squooshed the guy's glasses to give us this sort of comedic image of him, where he's clearly, not the dominant in this situation. Jet's literally on top of him, looking down, but also kind of smiling, right, with power, while that broken bottle is pointing right towards the guy. Not only that, we see that the sharpest, pointiest shard of that bottle is pointed right at his eye.
Yep.
So there's
Jet look like he's an ogre. Like
yeah,
he's, like,
he does.
abnormally long.
He's just a Klingon.
Also, the dilated pupils, right? That they both have the action pupils right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Talk about mundane,
Yep.
right? This is one of the more trashed and more standard public restrooms I've ever seen in anything.
It is
Except
a gas
for
station racing.
Yeah,
Well, except for oddly the urinals.
true. Yeah, you're right.
Everything else is all like, there's smudge on one of the mirrors, the tiles come up, and then the pristine urinal.
Yeah, interesting. Huh.
Okay. Weird.
And actually, John, think of the bathrooms we went to in Japan. Did any of them look like this? No.
Pristine urinals? Yes.
Pristine, yeah, but
But yeah, not this.
So let's call out the implications of the fact that he has to put a cloth to his mouth. And so this causes you to expectorate things. That's
Yes.
pretty serious.
Yeah.
I love how long we hold on this shot to make us wonder, does he know? Does Spike know? Because he's not getting it across, but
It's a good poker face that works really well to project what is going on in his head to each person who's watching it and their interpretation of it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So the first thing I see in this is, oh, it's you. I'm lucky.
Yeah.
But it is just such a static moment. It interprets differently to each person who's watching it.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's kind of cool. That's kind of a neat way to jazz it up a little bit for each individual viewer.
Yeah, when I first saw it, I was like, oh, Spike hasn't figured it out. This might be our first moment of just unadulterated comedy in the episode, I think.
Yeah.
Just a goofy moment. So establishing more about Spike, his sticky fingers. Also, the fact that, as far as we can tell, he wasn't going to give them back.
Right. He's like, oh, you busted me. Fair Nick. All right. Yeah, go ahead. I'll give him back to you. You got me.
And another interesting moment, too. She's lapping off of the beer when she's pregnant. And do you see anything in there that's like approved natal care kind of food?
Oh, true. Yeah, good point.
You know what I mean? It is all just pure junk.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, okay.
I think that's the hint that he knows. That expression right there.
Filling up a spaceship with presumably gas and smoking.
Yeah, it's true.
Spike has an interesting approach to danger.
I had not connected that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just like, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So a few things about this moment.
Yep.
Spike appears to be caught completely unaware and is getting choked out. There's not too much he could have done in reaction to that. Knowing martial arts, you can't really get behind somebody in that way easily. So it's reasonable for that to have happened. But then also, as soon as she says that's enough, he lets go.
Yep.
So definitely there's there's that going on there.
In a bad situation, back to your earlier point, boy, Spike's got light hands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just, you almost choked me out, and I just reached behind and I'm like, really?
Yeah. It raises the question of whether he was really being choked out that much, or if he was playing to the moment.
Right.
Impossible to tell. It's very hard to fake, that pupil dilation rolling to the back of your head. So, also, I just love this image, and I just want to call out real quick the combination of the aqueduct with the vaguely sci-fi city in the background, and then the sort of space colony visual in the upper left of the slope of the city going up. It's a very subtle but lovely combination of sci-fi elements and very familiar visuals. Worth pointing out here, he's finished a cigarette. So we have some sense here that, okay, he's taken a moment to actually center himself, if you will.
I'd be willing to bet that's supposed to be marker of time. So like,
Right.
it's burned from that to the filter. So it's probably, since he's not doesn't it show that he's actively smoked it? That means it's been slow burning. So probably what, 5-10 minutes maybe. Enough time to burn it to the filter, but not quite.
So you think it fell while burning and it's just burned out?
Yeah. Well, they showed the scene when he first gets grabbed.
Yeah.
He drops the lighter and the cigarette's smoking.
True.
So it hits and it's burned there
Good
to
point.
give you a sense of passage of time.
Yeah. Great point. I think you're right. So establishing Spike being very cool. Listening to the whole thing and then showing off the red eye while one-upping Jet a little bit here. Also interesting here that they're establishing Jet's ship in the background. So we see that's how he got here.
Spike ship's right there.
Yeah.
But to the point made earlier, his ship can't get them to Mars. You know what I mean? It's like, wow, they could have just stolen the ship. They knocked him out. They could have just stolen the ship. No, they need a ship.
Yeah.
So they're driving off somewhere. It's like the easiest thing to do. It means no, you can't. That's a short hop ship. That's not a long range ship.
Good point. And here's where you realize they're not going to escape.
Yes. The APB went out.
Exactly. And I just appreciate the visual storytelling here, where, again, you don't hear calling all cars. You just see dozens of ships all lined up, and you think, oh, I know what this means. I also appreciate, not only is it the same guys, it's the same waiter, same bartender, and the same cat.
Yeah.
Everything's loops.
They just moved to a new location. You know, it's safer, right?
Right. Clearly.
Huh. The more it keeps in the back of my head. You guys have watched westerns, Steve. You called out Desperado from Bar. What is not? It's not the good, the bad, the ugly. Where there's a dude, they're having a conversation, and he's sitting exactly wearing a serape and a hat. It's bugging me. I don't know what film it is.
It's there in the back of my mind, but I can't identify it either.
And it's like, I only know good, bad, and the ugly. I mean, I'm sure it's not that, but you know what I'm saying? It's like that whole thing sitting back with the hat and the serape and just kind of chilling out and talking. It's like, I know that's an homage to an American Western. So.
Well, and to that point, let's talk about the homage of this moment, where you have these, you have the good guy and the bad guy who have now met intentionally, and we are holding on this for a very long time as they're having their dialogue. You know.
Well, I like how they do when he does the reveal and you're looking for this, and it's like, but it's all quick, and it's like, like that 1970, going back to the Western thing, 70s Westerns where they do quick shots like that, where you're just like, surprise, shock, okay. And then you go into this long drawn out of just like, okay, we're going to talk before we start the thing.
Oh, what I was looking for was sombrero, by the way.
Sombrero. I mean, you expect them to pull 6-shooters.
Yeah,
next, right? It's very much that kind of build up.
Well, also to the cowboy concept.
Yeah.
Spike's wearing a light color.
Oh yeah, true.
He's wearing the dark color.
Yeah.
So it's like, are you furthering that sort of? Oh,
sure.
The guy shows up wearing the white cowboy hat. And you go, oh, visually you're the good guy. The other dude in the black cowboy hat, you're like, oh, you're the bad guy. Like, are we working with those visual cues as well?
Probably. So I have to call this out because I just realized what was going on here. Spike is going up against a very dangerous opponent. How does he maintain the upper hand? By making him angry.
Yep.
So destroying the red eye, which he is now dependent on for his speed and strength and so forth, makes Asimov realize he needs to really, do something now. But also he's desperate. and he's going to make poor choices in this fight as a result.
And
Well,
this
not
is
only does the red eye provide him strength and speed, but it's also the only ticket. He needs
Yes,
that 30
true.
million wulong to buy
Yep.
his way off this planet with the girlfriend.
Yep, good
And
point.
it's like, if that goes, that totally unhinges him because now he's got nothing. It's like, ooh.
I was just gonna say, this is the fight scene that sold me on this show.
Oh,
I was
yeah.
like interested on this, and then I saw this. I was just like, oh, this is good. I like this. Yeah.
I'll also call out an animation thing here. They're adding a little red trail to the red eye as it goes up, which you don't notice unless you freeze frame it, but it just allows it's the kind of thing that optically you would see if it goes through if you were filming it. To further that point, Spike's going up against this guy. The first thing Spike does is close very close to him to further he doesn't give the guy he doesn't give Asimov a moment to react. He gets right up in his face, so Asimov kind of has to engage and start the fight. We're also getting here a sense of Spike's actual fighting style, and we're getting something a little Jackie Chan, a little Bruce Lee, making use of the environment and not tied down by the environment.
Call out to whoever animated Spike, the main body figure, and the serape dancing around.
Yeah.
with it. Holy
That's
like,
that ain't easy.
no.
We're also establishing that Spike's faster than Red Eye.
Yeah.
And granted, he's not full on; he's kind of recovering from it. But still, Asimov's trying to make use of that power, and it's just not happening.
Asimov was vomiting. You know what I mean? So we
Yeah.
kind of get a sense too that's like he's still dangerous because he's
Yeah.
still got the little striations, but he's also physically had some reactions to coming down.
True.
So that gives Spike that extra edge.
Yep. I like the hammerhead shark design
Yep.
of that ship.
Yeah.
This little sea lab. Let's just call out the absolute chaos of this scene. Just one faction after another.
Yeah.
And now I got to call out the music.
Yes.
Right? The massive tonal shift here to this quiet, very boozy, sad jazz all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And you might look down at the time remaining on your video player and realize, oh, this is not going to end well.
No, she figures it out.
Yep.
A little too late, but she figures it out.
Yep. But the fact that we're pairing that with classic action animation, and this wonderful aerial dogfight kind of visuals is just such a treat that we don't see so often.
Star Warsy going into the trench.
Little Star Wars, yeah,
True.
true.
Flying behind. So.
But also, to our earlier point, we're moving out of nature back into the city. And we already saw all those police officers. We think, oh no, like they're not at the border yet. They're still a long ways away, even from escaping. And cutting the music right at the gunshot.
Yep.
And it must be pointed out, they never even made it to space. They're still inside the dome. They're doing something you actually do see quite a lot in anime of the time. They're reusing the shots from the first beginning.
Yep.
Right, it's the same thing. Just Spike's not walking down. It's the exact same backgrounds. It is an animation saving technique. It's a cost saving technique, but it is clearly intentional, right? Where we're contrasting what we saw before with what we saw now, and the symbolism too of the loneliness, of just we now have fewer people because of what we just saw, what just happened.
Point being, it's just another day.
Yeah. Exactly. That's the interesting, concept here. We've looped around. It's just another day.
And does this harken to the idea of the nobility of failure?
I think so.
Because they failed to get the bounty.
100%.
They're back to mushrooms and peppers. There's no beef in it.
Mm-hmm.
But, they did the thing. They did it honorably.
Yeah.
And it just didn't work out.
Yeah.
So it's another day goes on.
I think that's exactly what it is that we've seen people who we can root for, but who don't necessarily succeed.
Yeah.
And we need to start getting okay with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, of course, just the visuals of the tiny speck of the ship in the vast darkness of space, and the symbolism of just these two individuals. I mean, we're really very much contrasting this with the folks they were hunting. It's two folks separated out in all this vastness and all this emptiness, just trying to survive. And then our end credits sequence where we see the rose again. And I think this is important because this is them telling us, oh, that's not just a pretty thing. Like, that's something we thought about. Yeah. We'll be coming back to that. Like, that's not just a fun little moment. We have plans here. So they are hinting quite a lot in this end credit sequence. We see, spoiler alert, we see Vicious momentarily, but there's no hint as to what's going on there. He's just standing there. We did get to see Spike laying down and Julia finding him. And then Julia, and even if you don't know this backstory, you see a woman with Spike and you think, probably the one.
Yeah.
Right? That's probably an important thing. All right, so that was Cowboy Bebop Episode 1. What did you all think of this, particularly as an introduction to the series? What kind of foot do you feel like this put us on for the show?
I think it gave us a really good tone for this show. It's definitely going to give us some lighthearted moments. This is about bounty hunting. The music really just plays a really key place in this, and either ramping the action up as they're fighting or something, or actually kind of nice and easy and slow, like when we're dealing with the old guys in a cafe, and we get a sense of the world. We don't have the team yet, which is kind of nice, but we get a good introduction into two members of the team.
We don't even get much backstory of them either.
Right.
We get the opening thing, but that's more mystery.
Right. It invites us to go, oh, this is kind of interesting. I want to know more about these guys. And it's a great way to get people to go, watch more, please.
Yeah.
Watch more.
Well, for the music, balanced with the amount of action that we're getting, it's not too sort of beyond understanding. So it's not like addressing a lot of like super intellectual stuff where it's dry. It's you've got some wry comedy. You've got some interesting, physicality to it that gives you a nice piece to watch. You know what I mean? It's not just a super huge thinking first episode.
Yeah.
Really, it is for me, having her Tank and having her the Real Folk Blues. It was just like, what an incredible use of the music through it that delivers like entirely what emotional states you're supposed to be following through the show.
Yeah.
So it's like that was the hook for me when I first saw it. I was like, okay.
Yeah, a highly energetic opening and this very quiet, subdued ending, which is not uncommon in anime, but in this, it's almost iconically so, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. And we hear a fair variety of musical styles here, too. It's mostly, sort of jazz-esque. Definitely Western-inspired. You don't hear a lot of koto in here or anything, right? No. And I actually want to bring that up. One of the things that I think a lot of Western fans don't realize is how Western-influenced Cowboy Bebop is. We're so used to all of these tropes, all of these elements in it, even just to the idea of drugs and guns and action stories and so forth. But this seems just soaked in Western cinema. And I don't mean like wild Western cinema, although that's there as well, but just a lot of the tropes of how stuff over here gets built and made and so forth compared to traditional anime.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you get a very much of a mishmash. I mean, particularly where we're stopped here. You begin it, and it has almost a Parisian feel, like you're in Paris, right? And then you're suddenly thrown into this world where, or this asteroid, where things are more Latino or Mexican, and and you actually have people with cowboy hats, but
Mm-hmm.
and you actually have a Native American Indian guy in here,
Yeah.
and you have and listen to the names that are being thrown at you.
Mm.
So even though the villain of this one, the bounty, is his
Mm.
name is Asimov, Russian, right? But what
Yep.
does he look like? He looks like he's Mexican. So
Mm-hmm.
we kind of get a sense of a polyglot kind of
Yeah.
universe, where these kind of things kind of almost don't matter,
Mm.
but what we see is style and what's coming at us,
Yeah.
with Jet kind of being the heavy, so to speak,
Yeah.
the thinking heavy.
Mm-hmm.
Spike is, he's classy, he's got the thing, but knows how to fight.
Mm-hmm.
And we have all these Western Mexican kind of things going on, and at the end of all of this, though, there's an undercurrent of Chinese,
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
right? And there's like, it's in the food, it's in the background. You kind of see
Mm.
it here and there. And I think we noticed at one point, we were talking about how there's a street, and we saw
Oh
all
yeah.
these different languages, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is telling us, and to your point, Brett, this is telling us that this is not, it's an anime, but this is not Japanese,
Mm-hmm.
right? This is not necessarily, if you're looking to find something like, oh, I want to see the onsen. Well,
Yeah.
you're not going to get that there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
it's very much of a polyglot society.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which is not what you see in Japan.
Right.
Yeah.
Much more monoculture, so to speak. Yeah, it's really interesting seeing how many things come together in this episode. Actually, to your guys' point, I'm kind of struck by how episodic this was. A lot of anime, they will at least imply there are more things coming, that there's larger plot and so forth. And other than that opening sequence, which really more implies backstory, there's no sense of a larger plot here. These are
None.
bounty hunters
Yeah.
going after bounties. That's it. And even that backstory just feels like, okay, Spike has a dark past, right? He was probably in the mob at some point. That it doesn't really tell us that much about his backstory. So yeah, it's interesting that they're going that direction here. It's also interesting looking at the overall just kind of artistic approach here in terms of like color scheme, how this combines a wide variety of colors but a relatively muted color palette. You don't get the bright, oversaturated colors you get in, say, a Magical Girl anime. This is much more of a kind of realistic approach, if you will, to color and visuals and such. It's interesting. It makes it feel more like a lived-in world. How well do you feel like you know Spike and Jet at this point? And I mean that as characters, right? In terms of like, we're introduced to these characters now. Is this sufficient to make you interested in them as characters, or is that not what they're kind of trying to do here yet?
I think that we're introduced to a specific dynamic at the very beginning, between Jet and Spike. Jet, you can tell, is basically they're doing the trope of, here's the reasonable guy, Jet, right?
Mm-hmm.
And here's Spike, the hot-headed bounty hunter.
Yep.
But we're introduced to them with there's a sense of humor, there's a sense of banter going back and forth. So these guys are definitely partners. This isn't new to either of them.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost as if we were dumped into their story about a third of the way through, right?
Yeah.
Right. You know what I mean? So we're not worrying about how they got to these two came together. That might come down further down in the story, right?
Yep.
But right now, what was more important is, how do these guys work together? Who support? Who does the thing? Who does what?
Yeah.
And in that, how does that relationship work? So we get a sense of these two guys working together. They've been at it for some period of time, and
Yeah.
because at one point they're joking, and then Jet turns around and goes, well, the reason why there's no beef in this beef is it's screwed up, So
Yep.
we get that kind of dynamic going.
Yeah. 100%. Would you say? I mean, that made me realize this is not a getting the band together episode. You know,
No.
so many anime begins with here's everyone, you know, coming together, but that's not this at all. Which makes it feel a bit more like, in fairness, a more typical action anime, where often you don't have that. But even then, there's this sense that this is an early adventure of theirs, whereas you know, this episode of Bebop is no, this is just another bounty, another day, really.
To that point, actually, and I just realized this, at no point did I feel this was shonen.
Okay.
Good point.
Even though there's action in it,
Yeah.
there's a lot of action actually, and it's done very well. But would you qualify this particular episode as shonen?
No.
No, I don't think I would. Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
good point.
Yeah. You're right. And I think, why is that?
I think it's we're while we're not getting the band together, we're definitely setting up, and we're exploring in shonen. Shonen tends to be shonen. You know, it's just like the hyperactive. Hi, I'm the kid that's gonna warn the world.
Yep. True.
Here we have. Well, actually, you stopped on a great picture. Here's Spike with dead eyes. This is the part where he kind of goes, yeah, I know who this is, and I realize that she's connected with Asimov and so forth and so on. In a shonen anime, he would be like, "Aha, you're the one,
Right,
you're
true.
the one."
Now we must fight.
That's right. Aha.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so there's a lot more subtlety going on in here. You know, we keep talking about how when Asimov chokes him out, basically,
Yeah.
we all three of us are just like, but was he really?
Mm-hmm.
Right, is this part of the plan? It's not like, oh, he got bonked on the head, now he comes back to, he goes, okay, let's do the thing. There's a plan involved here. There's, or at least a running plan involved in all this. And there's some intelligence behind what they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not just, we're gonna make it up as we go along. There's a plan between the two, and this is where we get more of the Jet and Spike dynamic.
Well, and to your point, I think so much of it, in shonen, the main characters are trying to prove themselves, right?
Right.
Spike and Jet are not trying to prove themselves here.
Yeah.
They're
They just literally want beef in their lo mein.
right, exactly.
That's literally all they want.
So yeah, there's that very different feel where these feel like actual adults, and not adults in name only.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Well, and our shonen scenes are very specifically related to the overall plot. It's not the plot to have the shonen scene.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like that's not the whole thing we're doing here. This is a natural element of where the plot is going.
To that point, that's a great point. Think of how many shonen anime you've seen where the opening sequence is the main character, fighting a bear or something.
Yeah.
Right? It starts with this action sequence to let you know, here's our hero. We start with them eating bell peppers and beef, but there's no beef. And yes, he's working out, but there's no sense of these are our heroes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no hyperactivity. It's literally a slow burn intro to these guys. I mean, here you are thinking anime. You're either thinking Mecha Gundam or Shonen or whatever. And here you have Spike doing Tai Chi.
Yeah. Yep.
That's making the food. They're sitting there sharing a cigarette.
Yeah.
And the most actiony thing happens is when Jet yells at Spike. And then but notice how, like, as soon as he yells, they just kind of go, okay, here's the next bounty.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, we know, and now we're moving on.
Yes.
There we go. Yeah, it's really interesting kind of a take on this. While we're at it, let's talk a bit about character design, because I think the show, one of its advantages is its use of character design, where the characters have are all very distinctive, definitely.
Oh, yeah.
No question there. You get the little metal plate on Jet's face, but you also get the very narrow body type of Spike compared to the more muscular body type of Jet. And you get, see if we can get it here. You know, Spike gets a always tough to find the exact right shot when you're trying to go through. So Spike has a basically single color suit, the blue, whereas Jet has the gray of the boots, the kind of dark gray blue of the rest of the outfit, the exposed metallic muscles of the arms. So more variety going on in his character design. But then you move forward and you get this very angular character design for the bartender. You get the almost cartoony character designs for the guys in the in here.
Yeah.
A little more over the top in terms of character design, and that's all clearly very deliberate. They want to differentiate these characters, make them feel differently, all the way to the very sexiness aspect of her. Like all of these characters, they don't feel like they've just been kind of stamped out by a character designer because we need female character, male character, whatever.
Cute girls, Sonundre.
Yeah. Exactly. And I think it's one of the things that gives the show its charm. And to that point, let's talk about, this is we were mentioning it a bit while we were doing it, this is an all hand-painted cell anime. So you get more of that iconic art style in it. And I think you see over the course of the entire episode how much that helps it feel a little more iconic in that sense. Any other thoughts on this episode of Bebop?
It was a fun start.
Yeah, it's a great entry.
Mm-hmm. It's worth noting that Cowboy Bebop landed in North America at a very particular time that I think helps explain some of its wild success over here. Up until that point, anime fandom was mostly young adults. The late 80s and 90s had become a period of growth in anime fandom in America, to the point where there was an actual anime industry in America. There were, a non-trivial number of companies actually, producing materials, licensing materials for the American market. That really wasn't there to any significant degree until, again, maybe the very late 80s. So you see that start to formulate into a fandom that is hungry for more material. Then Bebop comes along, and it is aimed very much at that young adult audience. The stereotypical anime fan in America at the time was, again, in their 20s, maybe in college, maybe very early into their career. And so Bebop speaks to that audience, right? It's the characters are almost all adults in Bebop, and they're dealing with making a living. The average everyday questions of where do we get the money for our next meal. And so I think that appealed a lot to fans at the time. Moreover, a lot of the references in Bebop are to jazz, old movies, things that adults are more likely to be aware of than the average, teenager or kid. So Bebop is almost like tailor-made for Western fans, not to mention the fact that so many of its references are about Western culture, Hollywood movies, American jazz, that kind of stuff. So it is very well positioned to succeed in that way, and I think that's one of the reasons why Bebop was so popular over here in America, although it wasn't unpopular in Japan, but I'll talk about that another time.